Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you're in the software world, you already know AI is shaking things up, big time. But here's the thing. Are we just slapping this incredible new tech onto our old, kind of clunky workflows? Today, we're going to dig into a totally new blueprint for building software, one that's designed from the ground up for the age of AI. We're talking about a world where our tools aren't just tools, they're our partners.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Think about tools like GitHub Copilot. I mean, they're everywhere now, right? And what they're doing is shining a huge spotlight on all the cracks in our old traditional ways of building software. It really feels like we've been handed this super powerful next-gen engine, but we're trying to shove it into the frame of a car from like a decade ago. It just doesn't quite fit. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. On the one hand, you've got the old way, manual, step-by-step, and honestly, pretty lonely for the developer. But then you look at the new reality with AI. It's all about collaboration, it's dynamic, it's just fast. And trying to jam these two worlds together, all you get is friction, inefficiency, and let's be real, a whole lot of frustration.
So, what's the answer then? Well, what we need is a whole new model, a framework that wasn't just adapted for AI, but was born from it. One built from the ground up with AI baked into its very core. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, the AI-driven lifecycle, or AI DLC for short.
Now, the key word here is deeply integrates. This is so important. AI DLC isn't just some patch you apply or a new plugin for your IDE, and it's definitely not just about writing a couple of lines of code a bit faster. No, this is a complete, fundamental rethinking of the entire process, from that first spark of an idea all the way to having a live, running application in the wild.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? Well, the whole model breaks down the super complex world of software development into just three main stages.
You've got inception, that's all about defining the what. Then there's construction, where you're actually building it with AI. And finally, operation, which is about keeping it running and healthy. So let's start at the beginning and break down that first stage, inception.
So, inception is all about one thing, creating what's called the intent. Think of this as the project's master blueprint. And I'm not talking about a simple to-do list. This is the ultimate source of truth that captures the entire vision. And how do you create it? Through something called mob elaboration. It's exactly what it sounds like. The whole team, product managers, developers, and even the AI, get together to hammer out things like PRFAQs and user stories. The goal is to create a set of instructions so clear that the AI knows exactly what needs to be built.
All right, moving on to stage 2, construction. This is really the engine room of the whole operation. You take that big master intent and you slice it up into smaller, bite-sized pieces. Then, developers get into these mob construction sessions where they're basically pairing directly with the AI. Together, they turn those ideas into real working code that's already tested and secured, and they do it at a pace that honestly would have seemed like science fiction just a few years ago.
And a huge part of what makes all that speed possible is this concept of bolts. Seriously, the best way to think about them is like digital Lego blocks. They are small, self-contained pieces of code that do one specific thing. And it turns out AI is amazing at creating these little blocks. You get these perfectly tested modular components that you can then snap together to build a much bigger, more complex application. It's a total game changer for modularity.
And that brings us to the final stage, operation. This is where your creation goes out into the real world and starts doing its job. But, and this is key, it's not a launch it and forget it kind of deal. The AI sticks around, helping you monitor performance, flagging potential issues, and even assisting with maintenance. It's all about keeping the system healthy and humming along.
Okay, so we've seen the how, but to really get AI DLC, you've got to understand the why. This is more than just a new process. It's a whole new way of thinking about how we build software. And it's all based on three really big fundamental shifts.
The first one is huge, maybe the most important of all. We're moving away from being task-driven and becoming intent-driven. You know the old way, right? A developer gets a ticket in Jira that says, build a blue button with rounded corners. In the AI DLC world, the entire team, including the AI, gets a much higher level goal, the intent. The focus is on the why, on the big picture. The AI stops being just a tool to complete a tiny task and becomes a partner in figuring out how to achieve the overall vision.
The second big shift. It's time to say goodbye to that old stereotype of the lone coder with headphones on in a dark room. Instead, development becomes what's called a mob collaboration. Imagine the whole team, product people, developers, and yes, the AI,
all working on the same thing at the same time. It just completely demolishes the silos that slow everything down. Communication becomes instant, and the whole development process just takes off.
And the third shift is that structural change we were just talking about, the Boltz architecture. When you design a whole system as a collection of these small, modular, independent units, you're basically creating the perfect playground for an AI. Why? Because AI is just brilliant at tackling these well-defined, small-scale tasks. You're playing to its strength.
So, okay, this is all cool, but what does it actually mean for you, for your team? Well, whenever a process changes this much, our roles have to change too. And for developers, this isn't just a small tweak, it's a pretty major evolution.
I mean, just look at this. The role of a developer is shifting like crazy. You go from being, let's be honest, a kind of coder typist whose main job is to crank out lines of code, to being a reviewer, an editor, and a high-level architect. Your value is no longer about the volume of code you can produce. It's about the quality of the intent you define and how well you guide the AI to build the right system. It's a move from the keyboard to the whiteboard.
And hey, it's not just developers who are affected. The quality of your planning docs, your PRFAQs, your user stories suddenly becomes absolutely critical. Garbage in, garbage out, right? The AI builds what you tell it to. And things like security and testing get shifted left in a big way. They're not something you do at the end anymore. They happen in real time as the AI is generating the code.
Okay, we've gone through a ton of information here. So let's boil it all down. If you're going to remember just a few things from this explainer, what should they be?
It really comes down to these three core ideas. 1. It's all about the intent. Forget the tiny tasks. Focus on the big picture goals. 2. It's massively collaborative. Think of development as a team sport, where the AI is one of your star players. And 3. It's a total role reorg. Success is less about how fast you can type and way more about your strategic guidance and review. It's a whole new way to think about building things.
And you know, all of this really leads to a final, pretty powerful thought. The question we're asking is no longer, can AI write code? I mean, they know the answer to that is yes, that ship has sailed. The real question, the one that AI DLC puts right in front of us, is this. Are we, our teams, our leaders, ready to lead it? The future isn't about us versus the machine. It's about how we become better architects, better leaders, and better partners with this incredible technology.